So hello everyone, this is the Pro Motor channel. So today we're going to repair this gearbox. This is a gearbox from a Gazelle vehicle, a 5-speed gearbox from a Gazelle vehicle. The reason for removing it is a problem with engaging 5th gear. Basically all the gears work except for 5th gear. We'll disassemble, inspect, find faults, get parts and reassemble it. We can see that it hasn't been cleaned yet, but I'll take it apart now and then clean it separately. Alright, let's get started. So, I've removed the front cover, the so-called cup. Beneath the cup is a bearing. We must remove the ring to detach the housing from the bearing. Next, I unscrewed the gear shift mechanism, the cover of the gear shift mechanism. The cover has 2 bolts with 3 balls, 3 springs, and the forks secured inside. I also unscrewed the 2 bolts securing the shaft of the reverse idler gear. I removed the housing. I need to take the forks out of the rear cover. So, I unscrewed 3 forks and the 3 bolts securing them to the shaft. Now I'm removing the forks this way, then I'll have access to the ring there. I spread the ring apart and the rear cover comes off. The repair will likely require replacing the cones, rings, synchronizers and possibly the bearings. So it turns out that in the middle rod we have a pin like this, which means it moves freely like this. This device prevents engaging 2 gears simultaneously. So when it shifts to one side, it blocks the fork and then 2 forks can move at the same time. There are 2 small barrels like this inside the housing partitions. So if one fork has shifted, then to the pin, the second barrel is triggered and that's it. No other fork will be able to move anymore. This device stops 2 gears from engaging simultaneously. Here, we need to expand the ring to remove it from the bearing and take off the rear cover. I've removed all the shafts. Next, I'll clean up and disassemble the secondary shaft to inspect the cones, rings and synchronizers. I've washed the secondary shaft, clamped it in a vise, now I'm taking it apart, inspecting it for defects. Well, most likely the repair will consist of replacing the synchronizer. That is, most likely the synchronizer will be replaced during reassembly, the hub, sleeve, cone rings, etc. First, let's take it apart and check that the shaft is fine, among other things. So first we take it apart and then we make the final decision. Let's go. So I've disassembled the secondary shaft. So what do I want to say? Basically the shaft is in good condition. Well, let's say in satisfactory condition. There is wear from the bearing, meaning where the bearing sits, we have some wear here. It's possible the shaft will be replaced with a new one. But now I'll measure all of this and take a look. Next, the gears are in good condition. The teeth aren't broken and there's no noticeable wear. As I said before, the cones, rings and synchronizers will be replaced. So I also found out where the metallic sound was coming from when engaging fifth gear, so there are pits in the thrust bearing of the secondary shaft. I don't know if this camera can show it or not. There are pits right here. There are pits on both races and probably on the balls too. So, about the cone and the fifth gear ring. There is still some clearance here, literally about half a millimeter, maybe even less. If you press harder, the ring starts to turn, so it means it's no longer braking. The rotation speeds of the clutch and the gear itself don't equalize, so shifting also becomes difficult. So, the reverse gear is in the worst condition in this gearbox. You can see the state of the fifth gear clutch knee. You can see they're all worn out almost completely. On the cone you can see the worn tooth. The ring is fully seated and spins freely. There's no stop here, so it doesn't slow down, causing the gear to engage this way. Let's start assembling. The parts arrived, but not all we wanted are here. Well, basically we'll figure it out as we go, see what we have and what we don't. Basically we'll replace whatever they brought. So we see that we have a new secondary shaft. There are some new rings here. Here we have the complete clutch and hub for the rear fifth gear. Here we also have a ring cone. So let's get started with the assembly. First, we assemble the secondary shaft. secondary shaft is assembled. Next, I'll graze and add rollers to the primary shaft, assemble the bearings, and then we can start putting everything together. So what else do I want to say? As I mentioned, they didn't bring everything I ordered. They brought a synchronizer, hub and sleeve as one assembly, plus all the cones and rings for every gear. I absolutely had to replace the fifth reverse gear sleeve because on this reverse gear, as you can see, the splines here are completely stripped. If the fifth gear is still more or less okay, well, not really, it's also in bad shape. Then on the reverse gear, they're completely stripped. They brought me the first, second instead of the fifth reverse. So what did I do? I put the sleeve on the fifth reverse and the hub itself. I put on the first, second. As I already showed, I definitely needed to replace the hub on the fifth reverse. And when I was installing it, let me show you now if it can be seen on camera. When I was installing the first, second hub, you can see there's a crack right here. So it starts here and goes roughly to this spot. Well, and you can also see it from this side. There you go. So in any case, I needed to replace this hub. We went around to our local stores, but there was nothing available. The car must be ready and on the road by tomorrow, no matter what. So the choice was either to install it with a crack or what did I do? As you can see, we're missing a tooth here, while all the teeth are present over here. I used an angle grinder to cut here, so we should have 3 blind teeth here. Well, you can see how I cut it with the angle grinder. Here's the first one. Here's the second, and here's the third. I made it with extra space, so everything moves smoothly without getting stuck or jammed. It's perfect. Alright, that's enough for today. As you can see, it's already evening, it's already dark. I need to go home and edit the episode now, or I won't have a video for Saturday. Not this episode though. I don't know when it will be released. I need to edit now. OM 501 assembly prep, that's basically it. So it's already the next day for us. Everything's ready for assembly. I've cleaned off old gaskets and sealant, replaced bearings and oil seals. Everything's prepared. Let's begin assembling. tubes are installed. Now I'll be installing the forks. I need to place these two barrels in the housing before installing the forks.